Joining me for reaction is Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. Charlie, thanks for your time. I mean, you heard the monologue. If you were looking to decimate everything President Trump had done to bring us back to prosperity and destroy the United States, this would be the perfect way to do it, no?
Yeah, no doubt. And not to mention, Dan, it seems as if not only have they tried to destroy the country, but we're actually acting more like China in our internal politics. We've increased our surveillance, the going after dissidents. We are more like the domestic Chinese Communist Party after the virus that comes from China comes to our mainland and kills over 1 million people. If you were trying to destroy the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world, you would shut it down unnecessarily, you would divide the country, and then you would have a massive campaign against any sort of dissenting voices or people that might disagree. And look, it is so interesting and perplexing to me why this is not a bipartisan issue. But the answer is very clear. It's called elite capture. You see, some politicians talk a good game on China, like some people in the Biden administration. There is a roughly translated phrase that is said commonly in the CCP government describing American elites. It is little bad mouth, big help. You might say some bad things, but in reality, you're allowing us to continue to try to take over the world.
And Charlie, it appears we're emulating the Chinese Communist Party more and more here every day. You know, we thought bringing them into the World Trade Organization was going to make them more capitalistic and liberty-loving. Instead, it's the other way around. Vaccine passports, central bank digital currencies, you know, cameras on every corner with Face ID, targeting, domestic terrorists as parents showing up at school boards. We're becoming more like them, not the other way around.
No, that's exactly right. And if you study what Mao did in the Cultural Revolution, it is exactly what is happening right now in America. In fact, if you look at how the left talks, and if you read Thomas Friedman, one of his books, he almost has China envy, where they almost envy the power that Xi Jinping has, that he doesn't have to go through constitutional government or checks and balances or separation of powers or the consent of the governed. Now that's for you that was the old way of doing things. So the new way of doing things is we know what we want. What could we do if we had that much power? The amount of envy that the American liberal elite has towards the Chinese communist model needs to be emphasized. They want to get rid of, in many different ways, a constitutional order and bring forth a CCP model where, yes, oligarchs and billionaires do well, but the rest of the people are controlled as subjects, not citizens.
Charlie, I got about 30 seconds left, but there are businesses playing into this too. A lot of people on the conservative side have seen Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, one of the largest investment firms in the world, talking about how he idolizes China and China. Democracies are messy. Yeah, well, of course they're messy. Freedom's messy. But you know what's not messy? Totalitarianism, because they kill everyone who makes a mess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all the opponents and dissidents are silenced because they're no longer breathing. Remember, Bloomberg said good things about China when he was running for president? He said, he's able to get crime down and get people out of poverty. There is envy amongst the American elite towards China, and we have to be very clear of what our Constitution stands for. And like you said, our businesses, our athletics, from the NBA on down, the movies, the cultural centers of influence are bought by China and have been infiltrated. This was the crime of the century, I agree, Dan, and now this is the challenge of the century. What are Americans going to do about the Chinese Communist Party?